Lauren.
Good morning, Lois Henry.
Hello.
Very upsetting article in the paper today.
It was upsetting?
Was
Did
to
you
me.
actually read it?
Yes, I did. And I, like so many people, have been watching this whole...
Why does he act so, appalled that I would ask him that? You never read my Sunday articles.
No, because I'm usually hungover, but during the week, I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Whatevs.
And we've been following this Wings of Rescue thing and all that. We talked to Julie Johnson about this a lot, and it's such a wonderful thing that we have these unwanted pets in Bakersfield, and we take them to other places where they're wanted, and we got these pilots, and we have all this stuff, and all these people that work so hard, and then to find out that we are sending dogs that are dead or dying, diseased animals. Yeah. How in the world?
Well, go ahead and recap this story, because I've got questions about who's exactly responsible for this. Is this an SPCA deal, or is it Kern County deal, or is this
Kern County Animal Care Services?
One shelter.
But I mean, how many diseased dogs got shipped out of here? Do they estimate?
18 that they know of.
Wow.
Okay, so Wings of Rescue is a large rescue organization. For those who don't know, they fly dogs, 150 to 200 dogs at a pop. They fly them out of here, and they've been doing it for a couple of years on a small scale. And then in the last year or so, they started actually getting cargo liners and taking a lot of animals all at once. And it's a huge help to the shelters here locally, because when you can move 50 or 60 dogs out of your shelter all at once, it gives you such breathing room, and it helps cut back on disease, and there's all kinds of really beneficial aspects of it. And when you look at the cost, it costs $100 to fly a dog out, and they're taking these animals to mostly the Pacific Northwest and Washington and Idaho, and shelters up there need these dogs. They don't have as many. Apparently, you know, their populace up there has gotten the whole spay and neuter thing through their head, and so they don't have a lot of excess animals for people looking to adopt. And they're able to adopt out our dogs within 2 weeks of arriving in the shelters. So it's been a really fabulous program. I've been hitting hard that people need to step up and help contribute to it, because Bakersfield people were not contributing to it for a long time. And the Bakersfield community really took that to heart in the last couple of months and has been contributing a lot of money.
And still should.
And still should, absolutely. So it's an excellent program. The thing that will kill this program is the one thing that will absolutely put a stake through the heart is if the receiving shelters can't trust that they're getting good, healthy animals.
Bingo. I would that.
Because not only are you running the risk of having an animal that you adopt out that dies in a week or so, you know, which is nothing that you want to have happen, but also most of these diseases are extremely communicable. And so you don't want to bring that dog into your shelter mix and potentially contaminate the rest of your animals. So that is the huge Achilles heel. And to that end, Wings of Rescue, you know, they didn't just start this, you know, fly by night. I mean, they had a really good plan going into it. They required a health certificate. They required a veterinary health exam. They had
quarantine.
And they had all these, you know, ideas of, like, you know, recommendations to shelters to put the animals in foster care, get them out of shelter environments in order to prevent disease. But hopefully, what in their mind, sort of the line in the sand, the ability for them to really make sure that this was not going to ever happen to them was having a veterinarian check the dogs and sign off on a health certificate, which is a legally binding document, by the way. I mean, it's illegal to ship dogs across state lines without having examined them.
Now, how would a veterinarian do it? What, like a blood test or?
Yeah, well, you know, the idea is, and you know, Wings has no control over this, but the idea is that, and this is what's supposed to be happening at every shelter. When a dog comes into the shelter, it's a stray, it's whatever, the veterinarian checks it out then, make sure it has all of its inoculations, make sure they give them the inoculations to begin with, separate them from the rest of the animals, because you don't know. Dogs can look fine, and then 2 weeks later, you know, exhibit symptoms of distemper or parvo or respiratory disease, etc. You know, keep them separated for some, you know, reasonable amount of time, and then continue to check them. The vet should continue to check them, and then the dog is moved into the adoptable area, and then or rescue. And then once the dog is slated for rescue, then the vet checks him again, and does a health certificate, you know, in the last sort of moment before the dog gets on the flight to make sure this dog, as far as I can possibly tell through my years of examining and knowledge of medical issues, as far as I absolutely can tell, this dog is healthy and has had all its inoculations, because I know that because I've been watching this dog all the way through as part of the shelter intake process. That's what Wings is counting on, right? And they're relying on the health certificate at the end. Well, it works with the SPCA. And it worked with the city of Bakersfield. And it worked with the rescue organizations. There's a couple of smaller rescue organizations in town that Wings works with. But it did not work with the county. And it didn't work with the county because Kern County, despite many years, going back to 2008, of medical professionals coming in here and looking at the problems of disease and laying out, I can't even tell you the painstaking detail that was laid out for them to follow and guidelines in terms of health and safety of the animals in these shelters. Kern County doesn't get it. They haven't implemented these guidelines. I mean, it's just so appalling. It's hard for me to find words. They don't have their medical staff check out the dogs on intake. They don't separate the dogs on intake. In some cases, when the dogs had too many behavioral concerns, they wouldn't even get close enough to give the dog an inoculation upon intake. And then that dog is allowed to sit in the mix of the rest of the dogs, possibly contaminating every dog in the county shelter. Who knows? And then Wings comes along and they go, oh, yeah, that's a good dog to, we'll just go ahead and send that on. And then their medical staff does, I don't know what kind of an exam, but some sort of signs off on a health certificate and doesn't bother to even notice, oh, yeah, they've never even had their inoculations. I mean, it's error upon error, and it's incompetency upon incompetency, and it's enough. Enough.
Right. Well, we got to take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about who we're going to blame. I'm thinking Dave Couch, because his name did come up in the article a lot. Did he volunteer for that? He's the interim.
Your reading comprehension really needs some work.
Dave's a good guy. He's couldn't have a better guy in the position for the time being. But why the county level and not this? It's just a weird. We'll come back after the break. And
because they're run by different organizations. One's run by county employees.
Well, yeah, but they all have to
sitting on their fat pensions and getting their ridiculous paychecks.
Yeah.
and not being held accountable ever. And the supervisors are the ones that need to step in and do something. And instead, the city has a contract with the SPCA, and they're held accountable. That's the difference. It's all accountability. I'm sorry, it just ticks me off. I may start cussing.
Uh-oh, we better take a break before the blue words start flying around. We'll be right back. It's First Look program. It's News Talk 1180 and the new 96.1 KERN. That means you're getting your Bob Seger in stereo right now. Happy birthday, Bob. The great Bob Seger. Was it 70 today?
70.
70 years young.
Isn't he the one whose son fell from a window?
That's Eric Clapton.
Oh.
That was Connor Clapton. He's different. He's a British person.
Oh.
Bob Seger is from right here in America, from Detroit, Michigan.
Don't they sound very similar?
No, not even remotely. There's nothing. Almost no. They're both like bipeds, and they both sing, and that's about where the similarities end.
They have guitars.
They do both own guitars. I'd say Clapton is known more for his virtuosity with the instrument than Bob Seger's known more as a vocalist and songwriter.
I think these are differences without distinctions.
Clearly they are. We're back. It's the First Look program. It's News Talk 1180, the new 96.1 KERN. We're streaming live on the interweb at Bakersfield.com.
God, can you just say internet? God, it's so annoying.
Internet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Stop saying interwebs.
Hop, you got any traffic or weather you need to get to over there?
You don't like the interwebs?
No, it's stupid.
Well, it's a series of tubes.
It's annoying. Just say internet.
Okay, internet.
God. Napoleon Dynamite.
Did you just roll your eyes at Lois?
No, you don't roll your eyes at Lois. She does the eye rolling.
You rolled your eyes.
I literally did. I would never do that. My eyes won't roll, by the way. It says condition. It's a medical condition. I'll thank you not to make light of it, but the doctors were very concerned when I was
pretty
young.
sure. I think I saw some eye roll.
No, my eyes literally. You can ask my doctor.
It doesn't matter. No, we don't have news and all of that. We'll catch it up at the bottom of the hour. Lois has important things to talk about.
Foster Campbell will tell you I cannot roll my eyes.
God,
it's a medical
nobody
condition.
cares.
Morning, Lois.
We have 6 minutes till we get a break.
Right. How in the world? How does the city have this down? Everybody else.
I'm telling you right now. The difference is a pattern of accountability, and there has not been a pattern of accountability at the county forever. Board of Supervisors, shuttles off, however much money over there, as little as they can get away with, although they have in the past years, given more money to try and fix some of these situations. But they've given more money without the responsibility that they should have also, and the accountability that they also should have given. I mean, the animal control has been sort of this backwater of county government forever. And it was just sort of like people who wanted like stepping stones or whatnot, to move or a place to retire. That's what the county animal control was, as far as people who were in charge of it. I mean, Matt Constantine, who's now the head of the public health department, Matt Constantine was knowingly breaking state law until we wrote about it in 2004. Knowingly breaking state law. And nobody cared. Everybody was like, well, what are you going to do? Nobody really thought about actual shelter management, shelter herd health, these things that are not really rocket science, but you actually have to think about them. You have to know about them. You have to study up on them. And you have to provide the leadership to move the shelter in that direction. And that has never happened through, there was Matt Constantine, who was knowingly breaking state law. He didn't really care. Nobody really cared to hold him accountable. And look what happened to him. I mean, hell, he moved on up the ranks, right? And then you had Guy Shaw, who basically was using it as a retirement zone, in order to spike his retirement because he'd been a sort of a lower-level bureaucrat, and then he became a manager of the department. That spikes your retirement, and boom, he's gone after a couple of years.
Well, he's retired.
He didn't care. He what does he care? He doesn't really want to actually manage the shelter and look at what you're supposed to be doing as a shelter manager. And then you had that psycho Jen Woodard, who had her weird agenda, but she didn't have any idea.
Psycho Jen Woodard?
Yeah,
she's
weird.
Gone. It's fine.
Her weird agendas and her, no kill, and let's just, oh yeah, that's great. Let's just all pack the animals in here without having a procedure on how to actually move them out. And what do you get? You get massive disease. And that's when I first started writing about this in 2013. Under Jen Woodard's watch, we were exporting disease to the point that rescues up and down California were turning their backs on Kern County. It was known. We already have a reputation as a massive kill county, and now we're getting a reputation as, you don't want to go down, you're going to get distemper as soon as you look at a dog down there. I mean, it was ridiculous in 2013, and she did nothing about it. And then we had Cheyenne Scholl, and she sort of like, saw the place over when it split from the county and didn't really move things forward, didn't really move things backwards. And now we have Nick Cullen, who's the interim director, who was the shelter manager for many years. So you would think he would know about these disease issues and about the procedures. And oh, by the way, in 2008, UC Davis came here and did a massive report on disease and how to control it, even when we had, because this is back in 2008, they were looking at the shelter when it was extraordinarily overwhelmed, when it was very understaffed and very underfunded, because that was when it was sort of the backwater, who cares, right, until we started, writing about it, and lawsuits and all this kind of stuff started coming up. So they looked at it under those very trying circumstances and said, here are these steps that you can go through to reduce disease, to really actually have a shelter that is a healthy environment that you can move animals through and not have them die or have to be euthanized because of your lack of medical knowledge. That's been there since 2008. There's nothing new that needs to be done. You can just look at these 2008 recommendations. And, when I talked to Nick yesterday, I got the impression
it was a fun conversation, wasn't it?
Yeah, Nick, to his credit, he calls me back and he's responsive. I will give him that. And he knew what I was going after, because I don't call people and like, gotcha. I sent him the email that I had. I left him numerous voicemail messages explaining what I wanted to talk to him about. And to his credit, he cowboyed up and talked to me about it. And he disagreed with me on some stuff. But, I'm sorry. This drops at his door, and he can say he wasn't here in 2008, but he hired on in 2011. He was a shelter supervisor for 4 years. These are not new issues. This is not rocket science. We have a map that was developed for us by UC Davis for free. By the way, they came down here because we had such a problem for free and looked at our situation and gave us the roadmap out, and we just refused to follow it. And it's a leadership issue, and it starts with supervisors.
Right. We're going to take a break when we come back. But now we got the interim director at the supervisor level is David Couch. That's a name that I think is synonymous with leadership. That's a guy that
David Couch is the chairman of the board of supervisors. He's not the interim director. I'm not
the interim, no, the isn't he the guy that took over the oversight of the pet
shelter?
thing?
Okay, Nick Cullen is the interim animal control director.
Right.
And David Couch is the chairman of the supervisors. That's why Nick Cullen
right.
emailed
Well,
him.
again, a guy that Couch is on it, man. We got this, the leadership.
No, we don't.
Fine.
We'll come back to that.
We
No,
will,
we don't.
won't we? We will sit here quietly totally silent for 5 minutes, and then we will come back and we will talk some more with Lois Henry and her Diet Pepsis. We'll be right back. It's the First Look program. It's News Talk 1180 and the new 96.1 KERN. We're on the internet at Bakersfield.com. Thanks, Michael Hopper in the First Look News Desk. We're joined on the program by the great and powerful Lois Henry. This is an irritating story.
It is an irritating story. I was just talking to James Berger out in the newsroom, and he started covering this 2003, 2004, and we were both saying, we're sick of this. We don't want to write about this stupid shelter anymore. We want it to be adequate. We're not even saying, stellar. Just be adequate.
Yeah.
But it's just on and on.
And and don't think that there's the bad. If you're somebody who's on the other end of these Wings of Rescue flights, and they're saying we are not taking any more of these flights, that's a very reasoned position for them to take.
Of course it is, and that's exactly what may happen. And and here's the thing. Okay, Wings of Rescue discovered this because they follow up with their dogs. They want to make sure everything's going okay. They talk to their shelters. They vet their receiving shelters. They do a good job. They actually do the job that they're supposed to do, unlike the county. And that's how they discovered that there was this illness going on. And I've tried to find out, exactly how many dogs. It looks like there was 18 that were either ill or suspected to be ill. I don't know how many died. I don't know how many survived. I don't know. There's still some questions to be answered here. Of course, when I asked for the health certificates, which are absolutely a public record, and Nick Cullen tells me they're under lock and key, which I don't even know what the hell that means. I mean, there's so much wrong. It's hard to know where to start and where to stop with the county.
Yeah,
but anyway, if Wings, my point was, if Wings is experiencing this and they're doing all this due diligence and stuff, what about all the other rescues? They work with like thousands of rescues out of the county. I mean, I think 2,000 dogs went to rescues last year locally, up and down the state, Southern California, Northern California. What on earth are those people getting? And what's the cost of that to those most rescues are little shoestring kind of operations, and they're just trying to take like 10 or 15 dogs, and get them out of a high kill shelter and stuff like that. What's happening with that then? I mean, because you cannot trust the county at all, if you ask me. And Nick Cullen argued with me yesterday very vehemently that he disagreed with me that no progress has been made since 2008, and they've made great strides in the health of animals, and et cetera, et cetera. And their euthanization rate is down, in recent years, blah, blah, blah. I argue that there's a lot of reasons for that, that potentially it could be because of critters without litters, stemming the tide of unwanted animals here. It could be possibly because they have a TNR, a trap, neuter, and release program, where they're counting the cats as being taken in, but they actually aren't being taken in. They're just being moved through the process and neutered and released. Anyway, there could be a lot of reasons for this. But the fact of the matter is, Kern County has been the only one to export disease routinely, and they continue to do it. Now, that is a result you cannot obfuscate. You cannot say, but we have a nice faster program, or we have a wonderful adoption day, or we do this. Who cares? You are exporting disease. You continue to have a problem with disease when other shelters don't. Why?
Why? And what happens when the people are on the other end of these Wings of Rescue flights? What happens when we just get blackballed?
Right, exactly.
You don't want dogs from Kern County.
Right, they'll take them from San Bernardino, they'll take them from LA, they'll take them from Riverside, but they won't take them from Kern County. That's what's ultimately going to happen if we don't get a handle on this. So that's what's so frustrating and so annoying to me. And when you look at it, if you're sitting out there and you're like, I don't care about cats and dogs, there's so many bigger problems, blah blah blah. Fine, there's bigger problems. Well, we've doubled our budget. The supervisors have doubled the budget in the last 7 or 8 years for this department. They made it its own department. They've increased the staff. They've done all of these things, and still these yahoos are over there, just finger up their nose or wherever, but certainly not on the button of making sure that we're doing things right. And supervisors need to engage on this. I mean, they gave money, they've listened to problems, they've tried to sort of, do that from like a supervisory position, which is usually what happens. Okay, we'll give you some more money, we'll make it a standalone department. Now we expect you to do your job. Well, now they need to get into the nitty gritty. They need to launch an investigation of what the hell is wrong over there. And they need to, privatize the libraries. Give me a break. the libraries don't suck up nearly as much money and cause nearly as much problems as the animal control. Privatize animal control. You know, the city of Bakersfield split with the county, and they made a contract with the SPCA. That contract is checked monthly. How are we doing? And the SPCA has to account for how it's doing.
But there's no accountability. There's your problem.
That's right. There's no accountability with the county.
Well,
because nobody is, because the supervisors, it's this way with a lot of departments over there. It's like, okay, well, the department head is going to be accountable. Well, apparently not.
No.
So the supervisors have to get in, get their hands dirty, and figure out what they're going to do about this, because this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. $4 million of our dollars every year go to doing what?
And I know that you know people every inch of the way who pour their heart and soul into this Wings of Rescue program.
Absolutely. And Wings of Rescue is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, almost, forget about that. What about all the volunteers who work over there and the people who, try and foster for the county and try and do all of these things? And it's just like, it's just like pulling a dead freighter, upstream.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, let's take a break. Can we talk about the water a little bit too?
Yeah.
Governor Brown said we need you guys to cut back 25%, and we came in at about 3.6. Yeah. Are we getting ready to move from the carrot phase to the stick phase with all this? And how? Well,
supposedly. Well, you notice if you saw today's paper that some of our districts reduced, like, what is it, 6%, 14%?
Yeah.
Some of them increased by 0.04%.
Exactly. Well, we'll walk you through that on this side of the break and how it's going to impact all of us. We'll be right back with Lois Henry's First Look program. Is News Talk 1180 and the new 96.1 KERN. Trafficless. I am so worried this new storm coming up. It's just going to be windy and dusty and not have any moisture to it.
They said 2 to 4 inches of snow in the Sierras.
We'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to, it's not going to bust the drought. It's not going to, nobody thinks it's going to bust the drought. So don't do stupid stories saying it's not going to bust the drought. I could already tell my media brethren, just don't say it because we all know it. Just stop it.
Don't do it. Everybody around the state of California now. Well, the governor said everybody needs to cut back on their water usage to the water districts by 25%.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did almost everybody come in well short of that, but some people actually used more water.
Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah.
How bad is this going to have to get before people will take this seriously?
I think that when you're talking about the Bakersfield area, as evidenced by the fact that when people don't understand odd even watering issues.
You're in trouble when people can't grasp odd or even.
Well, it's because people have never had to live that way here. There has never been any attempt to cut back or involve the public in their own water management.
Right.
There's just always sort of been this disconnect, and the water managers here, we're like water managers all over the place. It's their basic sacred duty to provide water to you, and then you take it and you do what you want with it. But their duty is done. That's kind of the attitude, and it is a sacred duty to provide water to people. Frankly, I'm not trying to downplay that because we can't live without it, obviously. But that's sort of been the relationship, and I think in other places, LADWP, a lot of coastal places, people have been expected to be involved in their own water management. They're expected to be involved in that by mandate or by just, sort of a stick of their bill going up if they use too much. And so they feel much more involved in it, and they understand it, and they know that they can, have an effect here and there, and that they do have an effect. And I think people here in Bakersfield and other high water usage areas like Clovis and Fresno and all that kind of stuff, they've never been expected to be a participant in water management, and so they're just sort of like flummoxed. They don't know what to do, and we have been our habits have been encouraged by our city development, the way that the city develops, with these massive quarter-acre lots for everybody, and lawns and medians. You don't see the city, you don't see the county cutting back or making any kind of requirements that business parks and retail areas, do xeriscaping rather than, just, throw some more lawn out there. So they don't see any kind of an example of it, and they haven't been invited to be participatory in their own water management. So to me, it's not that they don't take it seriously, that they don't understand that there's a drought. They just don't know how integral they are in the process because they've never been expected to be. They've never been, and they don't see examples of, that kind of management and stuff. And we just have to change our mindset. And that's not to say we're going to go with, tiny little condos with gravel lots. I mean, there's ways to do things so that we build smartly and we use water smartly, and we don't have to look like we're, literally sitting in just a gravel dump. I will tell you, I completely disagree with the people who've been writing into the paper and getting upset about the West Side Parkway and calling it the West Side Parkway, and we were promised lush landscaping. It's like, really? You want landscaping on a freeway? Why? Because you want to you're looking forward to the traffic jam, where you sit there and study the landscaping. I mean, you're going from point A to point B, and let's just make it as quick and easy to do as possible. And there's no reason to waste water on ice plant on freeways. That's just the most ludicrous thing.
I mean, the last thing I heard, they want us just to let our lawns die now. Don't water them at all.
I'm letting my front lawn die. My back lawn, because I want my dogs on it. It's just sort of like I got to have something. I'm doing like a 1 day a week thing.
Yeah, but but they started off with 3 days, then they dropped it down to 2 days a week, and now they're saying just let your lawn die altogether.
Yeah.
But
then just don't confuse people. That's not the Bakersfield ordinance.
Oh, no.
That's just the general idea, sort of feeling out there. Why? Okay, if you have 2 lawns, front and back, or some people have a side yard and everything, you can't let one die. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Let the front one die. I mean, your kids are playing on the back lawn. Your dogs are on the back lawn. You don't want mud and dirt and all that kind of stuff, whatever. Let the front lawn die. Yeah. What's going to harm? The thing is, with Bermuda grass, which is the prevalent type of grass we have here, it'll come back. Right. It will come back next year.
No, I just
That's
didn't
the problem. Bermuda, you can never get rid of Bermuda. If you're a gardener, good Lord, you can't get rid of
what
that
about
stuff.
What about the gardeners? I mean, that's a big business in this town. It's huge.
It is a big business, and I feel bad for them. At the same time, maybe they can get more into gardening rather than just mow and blow. Maybe they can get into xeriscaping, understanding drought tolerance and how to plant things and, do landscaping. But what we have is mow and blow.
I would be more than willing to go to that whole rock front deal, couple cactus out there, some succulents. Or
I have a neighbor. I have a neighbor who they built some new houses right next to my house, and they did that with their front yard and everything. And they did it's cute. It's really cute. They put one tree, so they have some shade, and then they did all this sort of rock scaping with cacti. Which is
plural of cactus.
Yes, So and it doesn't look bad at all.
No, some people in my neighborhood have done it, and it looks a lot better than a dead lawn.
Right. Yep.
So, I don't know. We'll have to see. All I know, and I do know this for a fact, if you go outside of Kern County, I don't care what part of California you're going up north, down south, everybody is pointing at this valley and are saying ag and oil and non-metered water people and all that stuff. We are the axis of evil here in Bakersfield.
Yeah, Well, I will agree with them to a certain extent in that most valley towns have not done a good job of conserving water as a regular course of events. I'm not going to co-sign on the ag oil thing because I'm like, well, you know what? What do you want it to look like here? Yeah. What, strip malls? What?
Well, we got those.
Jackrabbits and tumbleweeds?
Kit foxes.
That's what you want here?
Right.
Because you just want to go through a wasteland. I mean, we have kind of used the water to beneficial use in terms of creating GDP, creating jobs, creating food. It's not like it's just this, someone's just sitting here with a big giant straw going, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, but the perception around the state is that that's exactly what's happening.
Well, they're stupid.
I know. And there are people...
And the almond shaming has to stop.
There's nut crops, obviously, are taking the brunt of this. You got people who don't think Nestle should be getting water out of our water table and putting it in bottles and shipping it all over the country and all over the world. Starbucks, their ethos water, you know where that comes from? Yeah. Merced.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The whole issue of groundwater, though, and we are working towards that, our groundwater needs to be protected. Yeah. It needs to be absolutely very stringently protected. And then we need to go to an open market for ag water. Absolutely.
Yep. And you can right now drive to any car wash in town, and there's a line around the block of people getting their cars washed a couple times a week.
See, this drought is actually perfect for me because I'm very lazy.
Right.
And cheap.
Right. So you don't mind your car being dirty.
I've never cared about my car being dirty. So now
the dirtier the windows get, the less people can see your obscene hand gestures as you fly past them on Roselle Highway.
That's not my goal, though. I am hoping they see the obscene hand gestures. But see, before I looked like, oh, look at that dirty car. Now I look like I'm making a statement in terms of my drought awareness.
A dirty car is kind of cool now. It's like
right.
I care.
Yeah. Before I was just a lazy, lame ass. And the same with my lawn, because I never really watered it that much, and I let it die.
It turns
in the
out
winter. I don't care.
She's not lazy. She just cares about the
right.
drought.
I care more than you about the drought. I am more drought aware than you.
So if you are a person who does not employ a gardener but mows your own lawn, same deal. You can now take Sunday off.
Exactly.
Mow your lawn. Forget about it. I let it die because I care.
Right, because I am drought aware.
But are we going to get to a point where people are scowling at you if you're driving a clean car?
Oh, there's water shaming going on. There's actually some great YouTube videos of water shaming going on, like up in Northern California. I can't remember. I think it's Benicia or something. There's one guy. There's like these little towns that are all around it. This one guy works at a restaurant, and he rides his bicycle around during the day. Works at a restaurant by night. By day, he's a water shamer. He goes to different places, and he if water's running into the curb, and he'll videotape them and yell at them, and then he puts it on YouTube, with their address, and he reports them to the water district. I think that's great. I think it's hilarious.
I'm going to go look at that as soon as I get home. All right, we got to get out of here. Lois, thank you so much for being so patient today and friendly and just nice.
I will fight you.
I know you will.
Fight
We're
you.
I'll fight you. I don't care.
You.
What am I, Louis? I'll hit you. I'll hit back.
I'm going to take your knee out first.
I know you would, just like Sam Elliott in Roadhouse. Just
wham!
Damn, it hurts, don't it? We got to get out of here. Stay tuned for the, what do we got, the Money Wise program coming up next. Then we got the Michael Savage after that. And then the Ralph Bailey Show. That's a lot going on. You get tired, pull over, you get hungry, eat something. Don't waste water. And you stay classy, Bakersfield.